Hi, I'm Risë VanFleet. I'm with the International Institute for Animal-Assisted Play Therapy. Here I'm going to talk just briefly about some of the goal areas in mental health and development work where animals and playfulness can be very helpful. The first goal area I'll talk about is self-efficacy. So sometimes we will, for example, teach our clients to train the animal in a new behavior. So we might teach the dog a new trick, or we might go out with the horses and ask them to have the horses walk in a particular direction. Any of those kind of things help build the client's connection that when I do something, it brings a result. And that sense of confidence and competence becomes very important for mental health in general. So self-efficacy is one of the big goal areas that we use. Another goal area is the development of empathy, or the capturing of empathy. We work with a lot of clients who sometimes lack empathy. I've worked a lot with kids who are pretty traumatized, have a lot of attachment issues, and so they haven't really experienced much empathy in their lives, and so they're not too natural at giving empathy or showing consideration for others. So very often they can relate to the animals better than they can relate to humans, especially if they've had a traumatic history with humans. So they can connect with the animals a little bit more readily, but also the animals will show affection for them. That's part of the selection of animals who really like people. They're very sociable with people. The first steps are just, what does it feel like to start to be cared for by another creature, another being? The next goal area is relationship, or developing a healthy attachment that comes off of that empathy piece. And what it feels like to have someone care about you is to care about someone else. So very often in our sessions, we will ask the clients things like, perhaps they've made a loud noise and a dog backs away. Then we might say, oh, did you just see what happened with the dog? Did you notice that? And so we're drawing their attention to how their behavior might be having an impact on another, but in a light kind of way. It's not ever in a shaming or scolding kind of way. It's just, did you notice that? And what could we do now to help the dog feel more comfortable? And that's the beginning of relationships. We focus a lot on having mutually respectful relationships. Self-regulation, a lot of times play is very helpful in helping individuals who do have trouble regulating their emotions and their behaviors. And so, again, we can kind of develop a treatment plan, we can develop a way of intervening that allows for this self-regulation to start to take place. Even playing some games sometimes with an animal where you kind of get all excited and then you calm down, and get all excited again and then calm down. But it's all done in the context of a game, but at the same time you're helping them learn a little bit about how do you turn your emotions down a few notches, how do you turn your behavior down a few notches. And then the final goal area that I'll talk about is about more specific solving of problems that the clients might be experiencing. So if they have had a trauma history, a lot of children in particular who have had pretty devastating lives and might be in foster care or adopted, they sometimes can harm animals. So I work with a lot of children who harm animals. And what I find is that in order to harm someone else, you have to objectify them. So part of what I do is we're trying to personalize this relationship. Let's look at those feelings of the animal. Let's have fun with the animal. So once they start seeing the animal as a being with feelings and thoughts of their own, they don't see it as an object to be harmed. At the same time, we might be doing other trauma work to help them get past their trauma. I tend to use, for my own play therapy dogs, dogs who are in rescue. And the dogs who are in rescue sometimes have the same history as some of the kids that I work with, and also some of the adults I work with. Some adults are still struggling with relationship and attachment issues that go back to their childhoods. So they can relate to the animal much more readily than they can relate to humans, because humans have hurt them somewhere along the line. There's many, many different specific problem areas. Being uncomfortable with going to school, maybe they've had some bad school experiences. So sometimes we play school with the dogs, and that's where we're teaching the dogs something. In different relationships and where trust might be an issue. Sometimes you can have say a parent be blindfolded but have the lead rope of the horse, and the child has to talk them through an obstacle course where the parent now has to rely on the horse, but even more on the child to talk them through a problem. And some very interesting dynamics can kind of come from something like that. But I think the whole purpose of what we try to do is how do we keep it fun and light while we're actually working on dynamics that need to be worked on in their lives. And the animals make it much more interesting for people. So there's many, many different applications.